That you're here. My name is Anindita and I am a functional medicine certified health coach and an AFMC practitioner. And today I'm going to talk about why you need to break free from being stuck in a revolving door of disease. So most people are actually stuck in this kind of situation without even realizing it. They are stuck in an ongoing cycle of illness, flare-ups, recovery, relapse, right? And it can be for autoimmune conditions or even other chronic illnesses. But this is a major reason for their poor quality of life, for their never-ending cycle of pain and suffering. And today I'm going to share with you why you need to break free from this vicious cycle if you want to lead a happy and pain-free life. Because here's what happens when you don't break free from this kind of a cycle that we call, or I call, revolving door of disease. It's because you are afraid to eat more than a few foods because you don't really know which one's going to set off your diarrhea and stomach pain, and because you've never been able to really pinpoint which foods are the triggers and which foods can trigger off these symptoms and when. Or you are living with constant pain and you're unable to sleep for more than 2 hours in the night, right? So you can be, and you can have, of course, there are many other symptoms that you might be facing, but primarily because of all these issues, you're stuck in a never-ending loop that can negatively impact your relationships, your career, your mental and emotional health, right? This is what I call being stuck in this vicious cycle, or the revolving door of disease. And this unpredictable nature of your flare-ups of the symptoms, particularly in the case of autoimmune conditions, really can make it really difficult to maintain a semblance of normalcy. So in my program, I teach my clients how to do this using a very powerful 3-pillar body-wise healing framework. And I have developed this over years of coaching. And today I'm going to share with you what I teach my clients inside one of the 3 pillars, that is called simplify, right? And to understand why you need to break free from this kind of a cycle. So this client of mine, when she started working with me, she's still working with me actually. She had already visited numerous doctors, numerous specialists, rheumatologists, gastroenterologists, dietitians, nutrition, so all kinds of different specialists, and trying to figure out what's really going on. But her condition had just worsened over the years. That she had actually become stuck in this same vicious cycle that I'm talking about. And even after being put on many medications, right? She had been put on a round of antibiotics, she had recurrent infections, and a round of antibiotics and antifungal and other medications. Her situation had just deteriorated, and she actually was dealing now with more than 200 plus symptoms. And she was no more closer to finding answers than she was 6-7 years ago, right? So when she started working with me, she was completely overwhelmed by what was going on. And she was also in pain and completely confused as to where she should even focus on. It was only when we started working together, when we started implementing this particular pillar, that is one of the 3 pillars, simplify, reconnect and sustain, that she was able to actually focus on creating a strong foundation that was conducive for healing. Like, she was able to focus on the basics. She was able to focus on, sort of not look so much into all those symptoms that I just talked about, but more on what her unique body needed in order to thrive, right? So that's what helped her too. So which is your stress management, which is your eating hygiene, sleep, and of course then more layers can be added in, but this is where we start, and this is what is so unique about the simplify pillar, or this framework, right? Because breaking free from this revolving door means that you finally become free of this pain and suffering that you have been going through. And it might have strained your personal relationship, it might have strained your professional relationships. Your loved ones may find it really hard to figure out why you are so tired all the time, right? Because many people can actually be tired or fatigued, very fatigued, and still can have a few cups of coffee and get going. But you may not be able to do that, especially if you're dealing with severe chronic illness like this. and it might have affected your professional relationships because you're not able to give in the hours that you needed to at work. And I know that many people have to give up their careers as a result of this, right? So if you break free from this revolving door of disease, that means you're no longer at the mercy of the unpredictable nature of your symptoms. And that's a huge breakthrough, because that's, I know, is a big stressor for most people, because they don't know how they're going to feel from one day to another, or actually even how they're going to feel from 1 hour to the next, right? Sometimes it can be that bad. And it also means that if you are free from this revolving door of disease, that you no longer consider yourself lucky if you have managed to get a few household chores done, or you have just taken a shower that day, yeah, because that's sapped all your energy, right? So that should not be the case. So if you have, if you will know that you have figured out what needs to be done first and what needs to be done second and then third, basically you have figured out how to implement a step-by-step strategy so that you can break free from this revolving door of disease. Like, that's when you know that you are on the right track. So if you're watching this on replay, my name is Anindita, and I am talking about why you need to break free from a revolving door of disease. Because here's what happens when you don't, right? You're afraid to eat more than a few foods because you don't know what will set off your diarrhea, and you haven't even been able to figure out which foods are the triggers, and and when and what will happen, right? Or you're living with constant pain and you're not able to sleep for more than 2 hours in the night, and you're stuck in a never-ending loop. Basically, you're stuck in a never-ending loop that affects your relationships, that affects your mental health, physical health, of course, but emotional health, your career, so all of it, right? And you are paying a really heavy price for being stuck in this. It's a vicious cycle that you're not being able to get out of. And the sheer unpredictable nature of the symptoms related to autoimmune conditions can make it really difficult to have any sense of normalcy in your life. So in my program, I help my clients to do just this, and we use the powerful 3-pillar body-wise healing framework to do that. And today I'm focusing a bit more on the simplify pillar, because that's the pillar that helps to cut down on the overwhelm. Which areas need to be prioritized, what are the key areas that one needs to focus on, how do we find the triggers, what are the interconnectedness, so all this actually comes in under this pillar. There's of course overlap with the other 2 pillars as well. So there's simplify, reconnect, and sustain, but primarily what I'm talking about today is simplify, because then that's when you realize which direction you need to be headed towards, right? What you need to focus on first, what you need to focus on second. So here are some of the things that you need to keep in mind about when you're trying to actually break free from this vicious cycle that I call the revolving door of disease. It is essential to take a very comprehensive approach, right? So you need to take into consideration your not only your physical health, but also your mental, emotional, and spiritual health, because all of these affect your overall health, and all of these are connected. All of these play a very important role in whether you will thrive or whether you're just surviving right now. So all of these have a huge role to play. So it is essential that you take a very comprehensive approach when you're trying to break free from this vicious cycle of disease, right? The other thing is that just to keep in mind, of course, you might have already faced this, that your loved ones might struggle to understand what you're really going through, because they have not really walked in your shoes, as they say, right? So it's very hard for most people to appreciate, to understand the kind of pain, the kind of suffering. And for me personally, this is something, my daughter had a severe immune dysregulatory issue of eczema, which is why I became a health coach in the first place. That's a story for another day. I've shared it many times before. But even when I had my issues of sciatica, nerve pain, back pain, they were all related last year. And the kind of pain that I went through, and eventually I figured out a way of using therapy, physical therapy, rather than opting for surgery. But the kind of pain that I was going through, unless I had been in that position, it's hard to understand what one's going through. It's really hard, right? It's not possible in a way. So your loved ones might struggle to figure out or to understand the ongoing battle and the fluctuating symptoms. So that can lead to a lot of frustration, feelings of impatience. So having a coach or a community around you, a like-minded community who are in a similar situation, is very helpful. So I wanted to keep a few of these things in mind when you are actually working towards breaking free of this vicious cycle. And the other thing is that the ongoing cycle of symptoms, flare ups, and recovery can take a significant toll in terms of emotional and mental health. So it's not just the physical aspect that has to be taken care of, even the mental and emotional costs associated with this has to be sort of also taken into consideration, because it can actually lead to more serious mental health conditions if left unaddressed, right? So when I talk to people who are battling with a chronic illness, autoimmune conditions, they typically, whether I talk to them or whether I see when I interact in some form or the other, I find that depression and anxiety are two emotional and mental health issues that people face when they have been stuck in this revolving door for many years, right? They haven't really found a way out. They don't know what's going on. They don't really have any answers. So yeah, depression and anxiety can become a part of one's life. In other words, a person can end up paying a really heavy price if this situation. The revolving door of disease can have a profound effect on all aspects of an individual's life, and I'm talking about why you need to break free from this revolving door of disease today. And it can have a profound effect on all aspects of your life if you have not taken steps to deal with it. So acknowledging these challenges and getting the help that you need, as I said, through a coach, through a community, different from maybe a functional medicine practitioner like myself. You need to figure out a way to get the support that you're not really getting, because otherwise you are really paying a heavy price in terms of staying stuck in this situation. Again, my name is Anindita, and I'm talking about why you need to break free from this revolving door of disease, because here's what happens when you don't really break free, when you're stuck in this situation for a really long time. You become afraid to eat more than a few foods because you don't know what is going to set off your diarrhea, because you've not really figured out what's going on, or you're living with constant pain and you are unable to sleep for more than few hours in the night. So there's so many things that you sort of have now accepted maybe or are living with right now, which you don't need to, right? So it's a never-ending loop that can negatively impact your professional relationships, personal relationships, of course, career, everyday life, day-to-day life. Day-to-day life can become so much more painful. And so this is what I teach my clients to do inside my coaching program, Healing from Within. And I use a powerful 3-pillar framework called Body Wise Healing Framework. And today I touched upon the pillar Simplify, where I help my clients to understand what is the step-by-step process that they need to take so that they create a strong foundation for healing. So I simplify the whole process for them so that at the end of it, they know what needs to be prioritized, which key areas they need to focus on, how do they start laying the foundation, what are some of the triggers that needs to be taken care of, and what do they focus on first. But the problem is that this is just one part of the entire framework. So there are 2 more pillars that you need to have in order to get all of this in place that I just talked about. The other 2 pillars are reconnect and sustain. But to get you started right now, immediately, I have created a free ebook for you. It's called Autoimmune Healing Toolkit for Women, and you can head to the link in bio, or you can click on the link below and receive the free ebook today, so that you can get started with using this framework to help reconnect with your body. This ebook is based on the reconnect pillar of the same framework, and you can start connecting with your body. You can start developing a more healthy relationship with it, so you can actually start being guided by your own body rather than working against your body and moving towards a path of healing.